Okay, got a few more things here from Foxeer. This one you've seen a preview of before. This is the new Predator V2. This is the micro version, and I'm going to actually do a full review on this one with more flight footage. I'm not really sure if they changed a whole lot. I think they might have done something with the case perhaps in this version, but I'll find out in the review. I got in some more Foxeer lollipop antennas. These are the ones with the new MMCX connector. Looks like there's two of them and they're red. So it looks like this one comes with the shorter connector wire here. I believe there's a 60mm version and 80mm version. Okay, so this is their new video transmitter. 7 to 24 volts, 48 channels. I believe it goes up to 600 milliwatts. It doesn't have smart audio or tramp. Okay, so this is all you get. You don't get an antenna. It does come with an MMCX connector, so I'm obviously probably going to use those lollipop antennas that they sent. And it looks like there's just a one-button operation here. It does include a wiring loom, and it looks like this one goes to the camera. It probably gets 5 volts to the camera. And here on the video transmitter, the outputs for the connector here are silkscreen onto the video transmitter. Okay, so I got some new motors here from HGLRC. These are the 1407 3600 kV. Actually, I think we've seen these before. These are the same ones on the XJB 145, but I actually requested these so I could put these on the Catalyst Machine Works America 4-inch build. It's a little bit lower kV than some of the other 1407s out there, so a lot of the 1407s are like 4000 or 4100 kV, so not good for a 4-inch prop on forest, but this should be okay on forest on a 4-inch prop. So I'm going to be putting that on that build, so stay tuned for that. I also got in some of these new 2306 2450 kV motors. These are actually the motors that are going to be on their new 5-inch drone. I think they're calling it the Batman. But I'll be testing this out on probably another frame, not exactly sure which. Okay, the motor wires aren't super long. Should fit most 5-inch frames. I'm thinking I'll probably put this on the 5-inch America. It's either this, a 2306 motor, or a 2207 motor. There's a lot of these 2306, 2450 kV motors out there now. We got a hollow shaft, pretty nice looking motor. Obviously another open bottom design as for the trend right now. Interesting that there's the legs here are longer and shorter there. You can definitely get a good look at the windings and how close that air gap is. That is really tight. Yeah, it looks yeah, the magnets look like they're curved. A little bit of notching. There's a C-clipper in the bottom, not a set screw. A little bit of notching, but it's not super strong. Yeah, so it looks like a pretty decent motor. Have a video on this pretty soon, so stay tuned. Okay, so we got a bunch of new cameras here from Caddx. This one looks like a mini style camera. This is the Turbo SDR1 2mm lens. I believe this is a newer version. I think they've made some changes to the algorithm. And I'm not sure if they're actually calling this a version 2, but this is why they sent it to me. They did make some updates to it, so we'll see what the image quality is like. I did like the version 1, or the original one. That one looked totally fine to me, so if they say this is better, well, I guess we'll find out. And of course they sent me the micro version of the SDR1. This one has the 2.1mm lens. And yeah, this looks the same as the first versions. It looks like the same lens and everything, so probably just some software changes on this one as well, but we'll test this out too. And they sent me the new Turbo EOS 1 camera. Both these have the 2.1mm lens. There's a 4.3 version and a 16:9 version, so they have two different kinds of sensors. So there's not a whole lot to this camera. This is similar to the RunCam Nano. It's got the nice big lens there. Obviously, you're going to have to look for some mounting options that are going to work for this size. It's kind of like the RunCam Nano. And you get only the 3-pin connector. There's no way to change your settings, but this has a 1200 TV line sensor compared to the Nanos. I think that's only like 600 TV lines, so it should have a nicer image, and we'll take a look at that and see what that looks like. Okay, so I got another 3-inch frame here from AMAX Innovations. This is the 130H, and as you can see here, it's sort of an alien style, QAVR style micro frame. Obviously we got the 20x20 mounting stack in the center here, and Looks like probably hit here in the front is for the camera. I'm not exactly sure which is the front or the back. You got the 9mm and 12mm mounting pattern for the motors. So you got 11OX to 14OX motors, but this is only 2.5mm bottom plate, so probably you want to stick with probably the 13 or 11 size that fits the 9mm hole pattern. And the cut looks okay. Looks like it's lined up with the arms, so it does feel fairly stiff, even though it's only 2.5mm. And should be fairly lightweight, so I'm going to be doing some more motor testing with this frame. Got a couple more of these accompanying so that I could do some comparison testing with the same style frame and top mounted batteries. So I'll have several builds of this one coming up soon. Okay, so this is the RotorX Atom Mini version 2 2.5-inch frame from Airblade UAV, and it's basically a unibody bottom plate for 2.5-inch props, 11OX style motors with a 9mm hole pattern, and they sent a couple of canopies here, pink and green. It fits micro swift type cameras, micro CCD, so 19mm across. So a bunch of those type of cameras. Yeah, it should be a pretty easy build. 20x20 stack, micro camera. Everything is protected by the canopy, and it's a single bottom plate, so it should be a pretty quick build. I'll have this up and running pretty soon, so stay tuned. Okay, got another new micro drone here in from Gearbest. This is the new SpaceOne DT140. This is kind of an upgrade to the Freebie X140 that I reviewed about 6 months ago. It has some bigger motors and such. This was originally out for some initial reviewers a while back, and then it was out of stock for a while, and I think that they've actually changed some of the components, motors and such. So if you saw an early review, this is probably going to be different, so we'll have to take a look at and see what they're shipping component wise on the latest revision of this. Okay, it looks like it comes with two different kinds of props here. Okay, so a clear 30-50, and then this is an unlabeled 3-inch 3-bladed prop. I'm not sure who makes this one. Looks like you get a buzzer and a battery pad and a battery protector holder thing on the bottom. Okay, so here's a look at the drone itself. Pretty tall stack here. You got 3 boards. Looks like a 4-in-1 ESC, flight controller, video transmitter, and XM Plus receiver. These motors here are labeled DT1408 3600 kV. I believe before they were like a 15 size, so maybe they would reduce the size of the motor to accommodate the ESC. And then this orange camera here is not a RunCam. It's got a really super long nose there. See, it sticks out quite a bit. Big lens, and the lens is, yeah, it's like concave or something, so it'll be interesting to see what the kind of image quality comes out of that camera. Obviously another micro swift clone type of camera there. Whip antenna here on the back for your video transmitter, and yeah, it looks pretty much like the X140. The arms are they're chamfered, the edges are chamfered, so it's pretty nice looking carbon, and it does look like the arms are cut properly. XT30 here, so yeah, I'll have a review on this coming up pretty soon. It should be a pretty good flyer, decent sized motors and everything, so I expect it to be pretty good. Okay, just got in the new LDARC, or also known as King Kong, previously known as King Kong. This is the FPV Egg Pro. This is the 138mm version. The previous one, FPV Egg Pro, FPV Egg 136, that was a 136mm frame. This is a little bit bigger, so that one was like 2.8 inches. This is a 3-inch model, so I think it has the new Gem Fan 3-inch props on it. So everything does come in this nice case, and you get a very nice instruction manual. This is going to be pretty, yeah, typical of all the documentation that usually comes from King Kong. It's going to be really good pictures and everything, so usually people like the manuals that come from King Kong. Looks like the props that they have here actually aren't the Gem Fan props. They have a 30-50 prop here that is a King Kong prop. Looks like it might be a clone of something, and I'm not exactly sure which one. It possibly might be a slight modification. You got right hand, left hand. You have 10 pairs. So you have white, clear, and yellow. And of course, you got the props that are on the drone itself. Got a few extra accessories here: some zip ties, some extra rubber bands, some extra tape for the arms, for the motor wires, and then you have these little connectors here for your receiver. I believe this is a plug-and-play, so you're going to need this to solder up a receiver and then plug it into the flight controller. to actually connect up to your transmitter. They're including one battery here, and they're flying this with a 853S Tattoo, and this looks like a 45C LiPo. So it's a little bit lower discharge, so you might get better performance on 4S and maybe a 75C LiPo. I'm gonna give that a try as well, but obviously we'll fly stock with the 850. And here's a look at the drone itself. And it looks like they got another orange little microcam clone here. I thought originally they would come with the original Microswift because the FPV Egg 136 came with the white Microswift. It looks like they switched vendors again. This is a copy of the Microswift with the orange color. I mean, I've used these before. They're pretty decent. It's pretty hard to tell the difference between this camera and a genuine Microswift. It's pretty close. And the motors that they got on here are King Kong branded, but they're made by Sunny Sky, and these are 1406 3600 kV. So the stack that they're using here, I think it's their King Kong branded stack. You got a 4-in-1 20 amp BL Heli S ESC, and then their F4 flight controller with the Betaflight OSD. So they're now going with the Betaflight OSD on their flight controllers. And I thought the video transmitter would be on top, but it looks like they have moved it to the bottom. I think this is what they're doing. All their new models, they're moving all the video transmitters on the bottom, and it looks like that they didn't cover it in heat shrink. They usually cover it in heat shrink, but this time it's just zip tied to the bottom of the frame, and it is exposed probably for cooling purposes, to keep it cool down there. And then you would just connect up one of those little connectors for your receiver, and I believe it will plug in to that plug back there, I believe, but I'll cover that in the review. Basically just solder that up to like a receiver like an XM Plus, for example, and then plug it in the back, and then probably use the zip ties to put your antennas up here somewhere at the top for a good reception. So anyway, this looks pretty good, so I'll have a review on this coming pretty soon. We got some flight footage. Okay, I picked up some new GNB LiPos here. I think these are from Amazon. And these are the 554S LiPos, 80 to 160C. So they're going to be a pretty good LiPo, and this one comes with the XT30. Previously got some other similar ones to this, the 550 GMBs, but they came with an XT60, and I didn't really feel like resoldering connectors to that, so I just went ahead and got some more of these. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in some of these batteries. Doing obviously more 4S testing on the 3-inch micros, and I needed to get some better batteries than the ones I've had. And these are probably going to be, if they're anything like the other GMB batteries I've used in the past, 2S, 3S batteries, this should be just as good, and I should get pretty good performance out of this one. Okay, so we got another 5-inch drone in here. This is the Helifar Futon 2. I think this is the follow-up to the Freebie Futon. That was probably more than a year ago. Okay, so we have some documentation right off the bat here. This parts list here looks very interesting. It kind of reminds me of what came with the Holybro Copus. So it's got all of the parts listed along with part numbers. So I guess if you damage something and want to replace it, you can probably order some new parts from them. And here's the quick start guide. It comes with an F4 CPU. Looks like it comes with a 32K gyro. Got black box logging. There's some other specs. It comes with the Kakute F4 V2 all-in-one. Very nice. 2305, 2400 kV motors. BL Heli 32 ESC, so you got the D-Shot 1200. And then you have the Atlatl video transmitter. So it's got the Holybro parts in here, and it's just the Helifar Futon branding, so it might be some sort of partnership with Holybro. It's interesting. Okay, it comes with these 3-bladed 5048 props. I've never seen these before, so I don't know who makes them, but it's kind of interesting. They're pretty high pitched. You get a Pagoda 2 antenna, kind of short stubby one, and a OSD controller for the RunCam. Okay, so here's the drone itself. Kind of a low rider. You have looks like separate arms here, sandwich style here for holding the arms on. So the arms are obviously probably replaceable. I got a RunCam micro here. This looks like the 2.3mm lens. I think this is the original. Yeah, this is the original Microswift, not that's Microswift 2. 2-board stack. Obviously the Kakute all-in-one plus the Atlatl video transmitter. And then you got the ECs on the arms. I mean, this looks a lot like the Floss 2 frame, and it's kind of built kind of like the Copus So they might have the basically the Copa's parts in this new frame here, which is very similar to the floss frame, but it does look pretty nicely put together. Everything looks like really nicely constructed, so it doesn't look like it was a quickly built or rushed build. Got a battery pad on the bottom, XT60. The motors don't have the open bottom, but they do look somewhat interesting. Like, I don't know what kind of if it's a clone or what, but they're unbranded. They don't look like a 23, maybe a 22 size, smaller size motor, but they do feel fairly smooth. The bearings feel pretty smooth. It looks like you got the clockwise and counterclockwise nuts, so probably won't be reversing the props in this one unless I switch the motors around. In any event, I'll have a more complete review on this coming up pretty soon, so stay tuned for that.